Welcome to my lightning talk, Realizing You Can't Do It All, Setting Boundaries and Establishing Priorities as a New OER Librarian. In this talk, I'm going to share my experiences as a newly appointed Open Educational Resources Librarian and explore the common challenge of trying to do it all. Acknowledging the reality of finite resources and time constraints, I will emphasize lessons that I've learned and offer insights tailored to the challenges that are often faced by those new to the OER landscape. So, hello, my name is Ginelle Baskin. I am the Student Success and Open Education Librarian at Middle Tennessee State University. I started in this role in February of 2023, and I'm responsible for leading the library's student success initiatives, which include the development and oversight of our campus OER program. So, a little bit about MTSU. We are a public research university located in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, right in the middle of the state, with approximately 20,000 students, and we are an R2 university. Share a little bit about our OER backstory. So, it started kind of in 2019 when MTSU developed a Quest for Student Success initiative, and it included developing an OER program as one of its objectives. Then in 2020, we received a $100,000 grant from the Tennessee Board of Regents to fund 25 faculty grants and 2 learning communities for OER, which ended up translating to about $150,000 of student savings in the fall of 2021 and in the spring of 2022. Unfortunately, after that point, we had several of our kind of key stakeholders for OER, our key OER champions, left the institution for other opportunities. And most notably, we lost our kind of key champion in the provost office. So this led to, in 2022, responsibility for the OER program was then transferred to the library. And then we created this new librarian position, which I am in today. So I was the first one in this position. So, one of the major challenges of my first year has been trying to figure out a strategy of what is most important, what to focus on, because you have all of these different things vying for your attention from OER adoption to OER creation. There are OER grant programs. Course marking is a big issue. There's open pedagogy. There's issues with inclusive access in the bookstore. And there's so much going on in the OER world that it can be overwhelming. And then you add in that you have, as I mentioned earlier, finite resources, time constraints, other responsibilities in your position, and that kind of adds to the challenge. So I wanted to just kind of share some lessons that I've learned. And the first one is realize that you can't do it alone. First of all, I suggest that you try to find some other OER advocates within the library as well as on the campus as a whole so that you can collaborate on OER initiatives. So we already had an OER task force formed when I started in this position. So I took that group and kind of grew it a little bit as one of my first goals. I also partnered with some faculty that were interested in OER over the summer when I first started on an accessibility project where we did a training together, and it really helped to talk to others about what's working with OER and find out what support faculty need. Another suggestion is try to connect with other OER librarians, whether through conferences, if you're a member of the Open Education Network, or if you just want to look in your area at other institutions and reach out. I found that if you just ask, hey, can we do a quick Zoom and have a conversation, it's really helpful to connect and get their perspective. My next suggestion is about establishing priorities. So, first of all, I would say it's helpful to evaluate what you're already doing and figure out where you stand. So, I did this in the beginning by doing kind of an environmental scan of OER advocates on our campus. I set up interviews with them and talked to them. This then helped me in the OER task force that we have to set some overall goals and then some concrete objectives. So, we developed an action plan, and it was probably too lofty of a plan now that I look back on it. We had some lofty goals, but I think it's very helpful to set at least 3 or 4 goals of what you want to accomplish and then set some specific objectives of how you're going to accomplish those. Revisit that often. I go back to that every month or so to see where we stand and see what we've accomplished and then what can carry over to the next year. And then lastly, think about sustainability. Think about what you have the capacity to accomplish As I said, I think I probably put too many things in our action plan, so I probably will shorten that in next year's plan. But I'm really happy if we accomplished at least one objective under each area. The next piece of advice is try to set boundaries. And this is really, really hard for me. So decide on what you can do individually and what you can't do in your role. And I think that's where it's really helpful to talk to other OER librarians and find out what they're doing at peer institutions to kind of get some ideas of what kind of services they offer and what they do in their roles. And it's also the same thing for the program as a whole. Decide what we're going to try to accomplish with this program. Are we going to do focus on OER adoption? Are we going to focus on OER creation? Do we have the capacity to do both? Those are good conversations to have early on to help you kind of decide on what you're going to tell people you can do and what you just don't have the capacity to do right now. One example of that is, for example, in Pressbooks, maybe you're going to tell people, we offer Pressbooks as a platform. Here are some user guides for it, but we don't have the support right now to do any kind of formatting or that in there for you. But here is the research guide for help, and you can come to me if you have questions. Next, I would say make professional development a priority. So when you're starting out, it really helps to spend some time building your expertise. And I really focused on that this year by attending a lot of workshops, a lot of conferences. Most of these are virtual or they're recorded, so you can fit those into your schedule. If you can get on some OER listservs either in your state or your region, that's really helpful. Before I was hired for this position and was already working at MTSU, I completed the Creative Commons certificate, which was really helpful. So if you have time to do that, that's a really great investment of building your expertise in open licensing. And then lastly, I would just another little extra tip here is don't be overwhelmed when you see what all the other programs out there are doing. It can be um, kind of hard to compare yourself when you're starting out to see that, oh, they do all of these great things. Think of that as inspiration for someday down the road when you have more time, more staffing, more funding. And then lastly, I just wanted to say, realize that it takes time to figure it out, and that's okay. So take lots of deep breaths, acknowledge that you're human and you just can't do it all, and focus on what you did accomplish and be proud of that progress. So look at small steps of what you're doing to grow your program and really celebrate those. So to wrap up, I hope you found this presentation to be helpful. Please reach out to me with any questions, or if you just want to touch base and swap ideas, I'd be happy to do that. You can reach me at janelle.baskin@mtsu.edu.